Intuition isn't woo, it's wisdom. There is a truth that lies just beneath the noise of the world. It's an ancient voice inside of you that knows the way forward, even when the map seems unclear. It's called intuition. And no, it isn't woo. It isn't fluff. It's not even wishful thinking or new age nonsense that other people call it either. It's wisdom. It's real wisdom. And throughout history, it's been the hidden force behind the greatest breakthroughs, revolutions, and quantum leaps in human progress. So let me introduce you to three extraordinary souls who had one powerful thing in common. They trusted their inner knowing, despite the world telling them not to. Steve Jobs is the visionary who saw the invisible. Steve Jobs didn't just make computers. He reimagined the way humans interact with technology. And he didn't do it through spreadsheets or focus groups. He did it through his intuition. Jobs once said, "Intuition is a very powerful thing, more powerful than intellect." You see, he had visions, clairvoyance, clear images of things that didn't yet exist. He saw a future before the world could imagine it. And yes, people called him crazy. They told him to stop. They dismissed him and they rejected him. But he didn't back down. He also trusted his gut, his clairsentience. Jobs honored his feelings as a guiding force, even when he couldn't explain them yet. He didn't teach how he accessed this inner compass, and he never revealed the deeper process behind it. But don't worry, later in this book, I'll show you exactly how to awaken these same abilities and gifts in yourself. He created Apple, was fired from the very company he built, and when he returned, he stood before his team and said out loud, "This is what I see. And if you can't see it with me, you should go." And guess what? People got up and left. But he stayed true to the vision. He trusted his clairvoyance and his clairsentience, that still inner voice that knew the way forward. And because Jobs trusted his intuition, you and I live in a world shaped by his vision. He changed the way we communicate, create, listen, learn, and live. Steve didn't rely on logic alone. He relied on a deeper knowing. He understood that real intelligence includes the unseen, the felt, the heard, the known, and so can you. Now let's talk about Albert Einstein. He's the genius of knowing without proof. Einstein transformed the world of physics. He's celebrated as one of the greatest scientific minds in history. But what most people don't realize is how much he credited his intuition, his inner guidance system. Einstein said, "The only real valuable thing is intuition." When others demanded data, he trusted the dream, the whisper, the spark. He once imagined writing on a beam of light long before he ever wrote an equation. His theories weren't born just from thought, but from imagination, from insight and inner knowing. That imagination was fueled by clairvoyance, seeing possibilities before they existed, and clairsentience, a felt sense of truth that guided his discoveries. He was ridiculed too. He wasn't always respected, but he never stopped. Why? Because he knew. He tapped into a universal intelligence that couldn't yet be measured. Einstein once said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. What is the gift he is speaking of? Your own sensory superpowers, hidden in plain sight. For him, imagination, deeply connected to clairvoyance and intuition, was more valuable than the knowledge itself. Think of the times that you felt something you couldn't explain, sensed what was coming before it arrived. You dreamed of something that revealed truth. Those weren't accidents, they were glimpses of your own brilliance. Einstein knew the unseen is the seed of innovation, and you carry that seed too. Now we're going to look at Joan of Arc, the messenger who led armies. Joan of Arc was a teenage peasant girl. She wasn't royalty. She wasn't a scholar. She couldn't read or write, but didn't need to. She relied on something far greater, her sensory superpowers. Joan's clairaudience was undeniable. She heard voices, which were divine messages that spoke with authority and clarity. Saints Michael, Catherine, and Margaret called her to act. Alongside that, she experienced clairvoyance, visions that revealed her mission and showed her what to do. At just 17 years old, she led the French army to an unlikely victory in the siege of Orleans during the 100 Years' War. Her leadership shifted the fate of an entire nation. But what happened to her? She was condemned, imprisoned, called a heretic, and burned alive at the age of 19 for the very gifts that saved her people. And yet, in spite of the fact that Joan couldn't read or write, she didn't write this for us, but she left an indelible mark on us by stating her truth. Because in her trial, she vehemently proclaimed that she heard God's messages and obeyed them. And she said, "All that I have done well, I have done at God's command." And with unshakable conviction, she said, "I was born for this." Despite the threats, the interrogations, and the pressure to recant, Joan stood firm. "My words and my deeds are all in God's hands. In all, I wait upon him," she said. And years later, the very same church that executed her canonized her as a saint. She is now revered, honored, and celebrated as a spiritual leader because of her sensory superpowers and her acknowledging them and honoring them. You see, Joan didn't wait for permission. She didn't ask for validation. She followed the call within her, and that changed everything. You, since you are here now and you are listening to this, you also have a call within you as well. And you'll learn more about that in this book. The thread that unites these three, Steve, Albert, and Joan. Different centuries, different callings, different worlds. And yet they are united by one thing. They trusted their intuition, which is their inner guidance system that they receive information through the five senses, which is your sensory superpowers. But it wasn't just intuition in some vague sense. It was their sensory superpowers, the very same ones that you carry inside of you. Jobs leaned on clairvoyance, seeing the future in vivid images, and clairsentience, honoring the gut feelings that led him to revolutionize technology. Einstein trusted clairvoyance, using imagination to unlock scientific truths, and clairsentience, following his inner sense of knowing when the data didn't even exist yet. Joan of Arc embodied clairaudience, hearing divine voices that guided her every move, and clairvoyance, seeing visions that showed her what to do. They were not magicians. They weren't chosen instead of you. They were chosen because they chose to listen. And the same abilities live inside of you. You may not be leading armies, creating theories of relativity, or designing the iPhone, but your gifts and your abilities are no less real, no less powerful, and no less necessary for your life and your purpose and to help mankind. When you uncover which of these sensory superpowers is strongest in you, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairsent, or clairgustance, you begin the journey of living in alignment with your inner genius. This is where the miracles begin. Not in ignoring your gifts, not in dismissing them as imagination, but in honoring them just like Steve, Albert, and Joan did. Because when you choose to listen to your intuition through your senses, life opens. Doors appear where there were only walls. Ideas come, opportunities flow, abundance unfolds. Finding your sensory superpowers is the first step into a more wondrous and abundant life. So as we close this chapter, I want you to remember, not only did they have these abilities, you do too. And the moment you begin to trust them, everything changes. So this is a good time to repeat after me. And you can say it aloud. My intuition is wisdom. My superpowers are real. I trust what I know. Because like Jobs, Einstein, and Joan, you are here to shape the future with the brilliance that only you carry. So what's coming in chapter 3? If you've ever felt like you didn't belong, like you were somehow wired differently, you're not alone. There's a reason you've always seen things others don't. You've felt things more deeply. You've known things without being taught. There's a reason you've wrestled with feeling so much, being too sensitive, or just too different. In the next chapter, I'll share a story of a man whose genius went unrecognized for most of his life, and how seeing him clearly changed everything for him and his wife. You may recognize parts of yourself in his story. You may finally understand why you felt like an outsider in the world that didn't know how to hold your abilities. Because here's the truth. You were never too much. You were never the problem. You were just ahead of your time. And your time is now.